Welcome to Nightfall Crypt, where the shadows come alive and the unknown waits in the darkness.
My dad never believed in ghosts. He wasn't the type to get spooked by shadows or jump at eerie sounds in the night. He was a corrections officer, a man of discipline and routine. He worked the perimeter at a rural prison, patrolling long stretches of land, ensuring no inmates had managed to slip away unnoticed. It was a quiet job, boring even, the kind of work that lulled you into a false sense of security until something happened that you couldn't explain. That night, he was parked on a hill overlooking the property, the engine of his truck idling as he flipped through a magazine. It was just another shift, another night of solitude beneath a vast, empty sky. Then he felt it, a deep, rhythmic thumping. It wasn't a sound exactly. It was something felt more than heard, like standing too close to concert speakers when the bass shakes your ribs. It pulsed through his body in waves, steady and unrelenting. He frowned, setting the magazine aside and glancing up at the darkened landscape. His hand instinctively rested on the grip of his pistol. Nothing looked out of place. The prison buildings in the distance were quiet, the fields empty. But the thumping continued, deep and low, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. Then, in his rearview mirror, he saw movement. A figure stood just outside his truck. Adrenaline surged through him. His training kicked in. In a single motion, he unholstered his gun and threw the door open, stepping out with his weapon drawn. But as soon as his boots hit the ground, he froze. There were dozens of them, a procession of figures moving silently through the night, their forms shifting and shimmering like mist in the dim glow of his truck's brake lights. They walked in a solemn line, their eyes fixed forward, their expressions unreadable. Some were draped in tattered clothing, others in traditional garments. Several bore wounds, arrows jutting from their torsos, blood-stained tunics, faces twisted in silent pain. They didn't acknowledge him. They didn't react to his presence at all. And then he realized they were walking through his truck. He turned to look at the driver's seat, his seat. They were moving through it, vanishing at the exact spot he had been sitting. His breath came in shallow gasps. His hands trembled around the grip of his pistol. This was impossible, but it was happening. The thumping continued, in sync with their movements, a deep reverberation that seemed to come from the very ground they walked upon. Seconds stretched into eternity, and then they were gone. The night was silent again, save for the sound of his own ragged breathing. Shaken, he reached for his walkie and called the other perimeter officer. His voice came out unsteady. "You there?" A long pause, then finally a response. "Yeah." My dad hesitated, glancing around at the now empty landscape. "You ever see anything out here?" Another pause. "No." But there was something in the man's tone, something off. "Because I said no." The other officer's voice was tight, clipped, and then the radio went silent. My dad stood there for a long time, staring at the place where the figures had vanished. The next morning, when his shift ended, he cornered the other officer in the break room. "You have seen it," he accused. "Haven't you?" The man didn't look up from his coffee. "I don't talk about it," he said. "Neither should you." My dad pushed. What the hell was that? Who were they? The man sighed, rubbing a hand over his face. Look, the prison, it wasn't the first thing built here. Long before, this land belonged to the tribes. A lot of blood got spilled right where you were sitting. He finally met my dad's eyes. And sometimes the land remembers. That was all he would say. My dad finished his coffee in silence, but he never forgot what he saw. He still doesn't talk about it much. But when he does, his voice carries the weight of something too real to be dismissed. Because sometimes, ghosts don't haunt houses. They haunt the earth itself.
And so, the shadows grow darker, and the mystery deepens. But this is only the beginning. What lies beyond the door? Who or what is behind the whispers? The answers await in the next chapter of this chilling tale. Subscribe to Nightfall Crypt and hit the notification bell so you don't miss what happens next. The crypt holds many secrets, and we've only just begun to uncover them. Until next time, stay in the light if you dare.